Hey, everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
George,
Hi.
thanks for joining
George.
us. man.
Hey, what are you guys doing here? I thought this was a Caramel
Phone
Anonymous.
sex line?
No. I thought it was Taco Bell Anonymous line. No, I guess
Mhm.
not. I always confuse those two. How's everybody doing?
Pretty good, man.
Tell us about your new album.
Oh my goodness.
From
What?
the start.
Let me see if I just printed this out. Did this work? Hold on a minute. Yeah, so I got this new record I've been working on for either 6 months or 13 years, depending on how you're counting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's called Terpsichore. And there it is. Terpsichore, which is, do you know what the Terpsichore is? Do you guys know what
No.
that is? So it's one of
Something
the
Greek.
muses. It's very good. Something Greek. That's right. It's the muse of dance. Did this work? Is this right now? Hey, look at that. It worked.
Oh, you flipped it? All right.
I flipped it. Yeah. So Terpsichore, there's muses. There's 7 muses. There's like Persephone.
Yeah.
There's Calliope. And one of the muses is called Terpsichore, and she's the muse of dance. And I thought, okay, this is like a dance record. So like, wouldn't that be a nice pretentious name? Like all my albums are one word pretentious titles, and it'd be perfect. So I thought, okay, so it's called Terpsichore because it's like a throwback to the stuff that I grew up with, like the Police and Duran Duran and Talking Heads and Level 42 and all those bands that to me those were dance bands. They weren't club bands, but they were like, I used to dance to all those records like a crazy person. And I wanted to kind of recapture that. Talking Heads especially, man. Talking Heads just, boy, we used to put that on at parties, the occasional party that I'd go to somewhere, and it was just like the best.
Here's the link, everybody. Scan that QR code, and it will.
Thank you so much. Yeah, you can go to you can get the digital stuff over there at Here Now, georgerob.herenow.com, or if you want a physical CD, you go to georgerob.bandcamp.com, which is really cool. And you get this, which I'm still a sucker for actual CDs. See, there's the concept. You get this lovely little booklet. You get a booklet that comes as a 16-page book, right? Which has all the words in there and all that kind of fun stuff. And
George, when did you write these songs?
well, in my phone, I started recording little snippets of grooves and chord progressions and little riffs for like a decade. And I ended up with about 500 or 600 of these little like 20-second, 30-second little snippets, you know. And then about a year ago, I said, okay, it's time to start really consolidating all these. So I found the ones I liked the best. I figured out what keys they're in, what tempos they are, and I started just organizing this huge, about 400 of these little 20-second things of like, okay, the F major, 120 beats per minute, E minor, 85 beats per minute, and just put them all together.
Special
And then
guest Bob.
Was
Hey,
that?
Bob.
Special guest Bob.
Oh, hey, Bob. I'm blathering about my music, Bob. I apologize.
Quite all right. Continue.
Yeah, and then started grabbing like, oh, this sounds like a verse. This sounds like a chorus. This sounds like a bridge, and then started kind of constructing them and putting them together. And but the actual like melodies and words, I didn't start writing until late February, and it was solely because I decided to do an Ice House show. Remember the guys, the Ice House,
Yeah.
we did our show there. They gave me another date, and it was like April 22nd, back in January, like April 22nd. So I thought, ooh, that would be a good way to kick myself in the butt and to finish this record. So I got in touch with Slough, who's my engineer / producer / editor, and said, can we do this? Can we finish this by like April 1st? And he was like, I can you? So we put stuff together, and then I just started, writing. I had Matt come up and play some keyboards, and I did the drums and the bass and the guitar and all that stuff. So again, like some of these bits have been in my phone for a decade, but the melodies and the lyrics I wrote 6 weeks before the album was out.
Wow.
Sort of over the
Do
course.
you work well under pressure?
I need a deadline. I don't know if
Yeah.
the pressure's the thing or the deadline or some combination therein, but the deadline is what does it. And it's just like, okay, I got to go to Wegmans, and I'll sit upstairs at Wegmans for 5 hours, and I'll work on this song, and I'll bring it home, and I'll edit it, and then next day I'll do it again. And I did that for 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. I was like, doing just get out of the house, get into a place where you have to do the thing you're working on. And somehow it all came together. I'm still kind of shocked at how cohesive and how well it all sort of holds together. There was an overarching kind of structure to the whole thing, which I really like. And I'm incredibly happy with it and incredibly proud of it. And I think it's part of the reason it's so good is because it's not just me. In the past, it's usually just been me playing everything and singing everything. And on this record, Matt Asti from the Philadelphia Funk Authority plays keyboards. Slough plays a couple of guitar solos. Milton Murmakidis plays this guitar solo that is on a song called Stop Shouting. That is just, I came to him and I said, Milt, I got 16 bars. I need a solo. What would it sound like if Stravinsky joined Talking Heads? And he's like, okay. And he came back with this unbelievably cool nine guitar part solo, 9-track solo.
Wow.
Blew me away. Yeah.
Awesome.
Same thing on a song called White Noise. I said, this sort of doesn't need anything, but if you're hearing more guitars or whatever you can do, he added 4 guitars to that. And it just blew me away. And then I have Kira sings on this. Risa from the Philly Funk sings on it. Dina Hall, my friend from Bethlehem, she sings on it. Dale from Philly Funk, he sings lead on one of the songs. And again, Slough has a guitar solo on one of the things. He plays a little bit of keys here and there. So it's much more of a non-George Robb record. And I think it's all the better for it. Because like a real keyboard player playing keyboard parts.
Yeah, of course.
Stuff, so. Yeah, I'm super happy with it. So if you're interested, if you like that kind of, it's not an 80s throwback as opposed to a 80s aesthetic idea. I mean, the overarching idea was, okay, I'm going to write Talking Heads verses, Police choruses, and Steely Dan bridges. Because Steely Dan always has these great, weird, crazy chords, whereas Talking Heads tend to be kind of static in their chord motion, and the Police is kind of in between. You get those cool Andy Summers chords that tend to be sort of extensive chord, they upper partial kind of stuff. So I thought those 3 would kind of be cool. So that was the concept, and it worked. So if you like those bands, if you like that kind of stuff, I think you'll dig it. And I just posted it up on YouTube, the entire album, for free. You can go. It's also in my podcast, Show 811. But you can go to YouTube, go to my channel. You can listen to the whole thing because it's meant to be heard like as an album, because albums are awesome. 51 minutes of just, you put it on and you dance, or you space out, or you do yard work or whatever. And that's the whole point of it. So thanks for letting me chat about it. I appreciate it.
Sure. I love it. Yeah.
I got my stuff yesterday.
Oh, cool. Yay. Crank it, baby.
So I listened to the whole thing about twice at this point, because there was I kept rewinding a couple of songs because I wanted to hear the parts better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Listen to it first and then. So did you play drums on everything?
Yeah.
And
Drums
did
on
you
everything, bass on everything, and guitar on rhythm guitar on everything,
Okay,
except for white noise.
that's exactly what I thought.
Yeah.
Awesome, George.
The bass is so much fun. I'm like, we're playing some of these tunes now with my 4-piece, and I said to Vinny, who's the bass player in the George Robb band, I'm like, Vin, these parts are so fun. They're just like, there's motion, and because most of them are basically written, that was the starting point, was this cool bass line, and not just like a static bass line. The cool thing was that not having melodies and lyrics, when I would bring these sort of snippets to other, like to Matt, or even to myself, or to Slough or something, like you had to make your part interesting because you didn't know, you couldn't just clump away chords because there wasn't a melody you were playing to. So you just had to make your part interesting. So each subsequent layer was interesting. And I think it makes the whole thing that much more interesting. Like there's nothing more boring to me than just strumming, a D chord while someone's I shouldn't say boring, but to me, my aesthetic is not, I'm not interested in just someone strumming a chord while you sing, because that's been done 65 trillion times. So to have these like component parts that are all, the sum is bigger than than its parts kind of deal. So, I'm glad you dig it.
People want to know what were you doing upstairs at Wegmans?
So, do I have it here? I don't think I have my book here. So you go and I have a notebook. I have a blank notebook that just is blank pages, unlined. I like just the blank book without lines in it or anything. And also in my phone, I'll have maybe snippets of little phrases, a little like one of the songs is called "A Little Too Late," and that was just something that popped into my head one day. I think I was driving or something, and I just thought, oh, that was a little too late. Like, ooh, that's a cool little alliterative, rhythmic kind of thing. So you write that down, you save it. Those you print out too. You find all those, and you start looking, and then you just start writing. Sometimes, damn it, do I have it? I wish I had it here with me, but I'll do. Oh, here it is. Hold on. I can show you. This is a technique that I saw Paul Simon do while he was working on Graceland, which is an amazing record.
Yeah, I love it.
And he just grabs and he just starts writing. And you just maybe have maybe sort of the barest subject in mind. So you'll think like, I don't know, falling or flight or underwater or nervous or something. And you just start writing. And as long as you don't stop, you just can't, even if you end up repeating what you're writing. And so you fill up a whole page like this, and it's all nonsense. It's all just nonsense. It's just, gung ho, here we go. Gung ho, who gives you gung ho? Gung he, gung her, gunga din, gunga done, gunga lose, gunga win, trust fun, plus one, and you're just like, you're writing. And out of a page like this, maybe you'll get like 3 or 4 words that work together in a cool way. So you start with something like that. Again, here's another one. This is all about Philo. One of the songs is going to be about Philo Farnsworth. I wanted to write I didn't end up doing that, but so yeah, from this whole thing about just improvising and writing, I got One Nation Under Knob. I thought that was a great little line, right? One Nation Under Knob. It's underlined here, and then One Nation Under Knob. Like that's all I might get from a page like this, but that's a cool line, which I wouldn't have been able to think of just if I had been trying to think of lines. So you do that, and that takes whatever, 15, 20, 30 minutes or whatever it may be. And then you start sort of, consolidating and then you kind of think, oh, well, this may be the start of a verse. So then you start writing little verses like this, and it's most of it's garbage. Like 85 to 90% of it is just crap. And you might get one good line. So then, I do that at Wegmans. I write the crap at Wegmans for 5 hours. I just sit there with a coffee and another coffee and then another coffee. And you just write boom, 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 all this kind of stuff. And then you come home. And the next morning you look at what you did and you think, oh, that line's good. That line's kind of cool. Oh, if I put that over, like if I take this and this and this, and then you start editing and putting it together. And so again, this is all what went down in those 2 weeks.
So somebody is going to find that notebook 100 years from now and think that you were talking to aliens or something.
They had paper back then? Yeah, no, it's...
Or training in AI.
It's one of those. Yeah, that's right. It's
Well,
one of
George,
those
have you tried using like ChatGPT as a seed, as a creative?
I have
seed?
not yet, and I might at some point, but I
Yeah.
sort of haven't yet. But I'll be curious to try that. Yeah, it does show this idea of like not to say that I'm this, but the idea of like talent is like, oh, it's a gift. It's like it's a lot of fucking work.
99% work.
It's
Yeah.
work, man. It is just like, I mean, the one song "Drowning Not Drowning," the last track 14, which I'm like, it's one of my favorite tracks now. I literally had 4 complete different sets of lyrics for that song, and they were crap. It was like it just wasn't working. It just wasn't working. And then it wasn't called. The only thing I knew was the first line was going to be, "You wouldn't know it just by looking." I thought that was a great starting line for a song. I don't know what it's about. It was going to be about Philo Farnsworth, the guy that invented television. Because that story, I don't know if you know the whole story of Philo Farnsworth. It's amazing. The poor guy. Like, you know, we know who invented the light bulb. We know who invented the phone. But who invented TV? Like, Philo Farnsworth invented television. When he was 14 years old, he saw the lines on his dad's farm in the field. And he thought, hey, I wonder if we could broadcast images that way. You know, and he figured out how to do it. And then, of course, RCA stole his idea and the whole thing. Anyway, it's a fascinating story. So I wrote this whole thing about Philo, and it was crap. It didn't work. So then I'm like, you know, going through, and this is like version 5 now. And I remembered, like, for some reason, when you're a lifeguard, I used to be a lifeguard during the summer. One of the first things they teach you is that drowning doesn't look like drowning. You know, in the movies, drowning is like, splashy, you know, on Baywatch, it's splashy. Whereas in real life, when you drown, it's just like,
it's quiet. Yeah.
You just disappear. And I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. All right. There's a metaphor in there for, I don't know what it is, but there's something there. And then that started. And then it was like all the water, you know, the ideas of water, of liquid, of drowning, of floating, of rescue, of ships, of stranded. And it just, that whole tune kind of opened up about people that need help don't look like they need help often. You know, drowning does not look like drowning. So, but but that killed me. That song killed me. It was like sitting awake at 3 a.m. going like this, I got nothing left. There's not going to happen.
Are you fatigued from doing this?
Oh yeah. Mentally spent and it's that weird, like, you know how like when you're in a close, not an accident, but like a close call, like where you sort of realize like, oh, that could have gone really bad. Yeah. Like, you know, some kind of car thing, or like you lose your balance for a second at the top of the stairs and you catch yourself. And then there's this like overwhelming feeling of like, that could have been a disaster. There's a little bit of that feeling of like, I averted this sort of a disaster of, and not just that I finished it, but that I'm really, really happy with it. And yeah, but it's mentally like, you know, someone the other day was like, oh, you should put in an EP of like 4 more songs. And I'm like, oh, should I do that? Really? I should kill myself again for 4 more songs and go into more debt for you? Because
more debt, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah. And it's like, it's such a, you have no idea how much this takes out of, it's like, you know, me, not just mentally, but then also, again, you drive up to Queens and you record the drums and you edit and, you know, phone calls back and forth and versions and this, and then like listening, and it's hours of listening, and just, you know, it's the best job in the world. Don't get me wrong. And I love it, but yeah, it's after a while, it's exhausting.
Need a break.
Yeah.
What's with
because you gotta do a podcast, and then you gotta do another thing, and you gotta do another thing.
George, what's with the album cover?
Well, it's interesting. So I wanted it, you know, again, Terpsichore. So I wanted some kind of dance reference, you know?
Yeah.
But I didn't want it to be like, you know, like a dancer or like something, or like, you know, Gene Kelly or something too obvious. And I was hunting around on a Getty site that you have to buy photos from. Donna has access to these things so you can look through. And I found this picture, and it was, you know, the thing is that if you look at the entire photo, you know, this is a woman. She's shooting down on her own legs, and she's got the ballet slipper on, and then it shows sort of the cost, right? Like, okay, people think art is that, but art tends to be that.
Yeah.
So that's the idea of like, everything has a price. So I saw that, and I instantly was like, that's the cover, and it popped into my head of like, okay, this will be the cover, And then as you open it up, that'll be the reveal of the second part of it. And I mocked it up real quick and I sent it to Donna. I'm like, this is the picture. This is it. I'm loving this. Like super quick. It just happened. We bought the photo. We were working on the packaging for it. And I wanted to give credit to the photographer. And the photographer's name, I forget her name, is Olya. Where is it? Yeah. Olga Milko is the photographer's name. So I found her website and I look at it. And of course, she's Ukrainian.
Mm-hmm.
First generation Ukrainian. She came over here in the 90s when she was like 12 or 13, didn't speak English. She left just as the curtain fell. She became a photographer. Her work is amazing. It's beautiful work, beautiful work. I sent her a note. I haven't heard back from her yet, but I said like, hey, we bought your photo. We're using it for the thing. I'm Ukrainian. I knew there was something about your aesthetic that just worked out great. So yeah. So that's the point of it. Of sometimes people think that art is that, but it's very often.
Yeah,
it's very often.
That's cool. I'm glad I asked you because I had my own idea.
What was yours?
I mean, I was thinking. I knew it was dance related.
Yeah.
But I was thinking more of like, I don't know. I was getting all philosophical, like, you know, there is a specific way that things need to be done because ballet is very specific. Yeah. So I thought you were kind of leaning into that, but I like,
yeah, sure.
You know,
yeah. There's another cool thing is that in the booklet, you have this sort of curtain. I like there's a curtain there and there's a curtain on the inside as well behind the disc. There's a curtain.
Yeah.
Because it struck me what curtains means. Like, you know, the start of the show, the end of the show, the middle of the show, it's curtains for you.
Yeah.
So we had this kind of curtain motif, and then we ended up extending the curtain across the back. And this, again, sort of by accident, but then we leaned into it. This is like the inverse of a diving.
Yeah, down flag.
Diver down flag.
Yeah.
So like, because this is warning someone's diving, and it's like, to me, this is like, no, they're drowning, they're not diving, they're in trouble.
Yeah.
So again, little subtle. I mean, and then there's all the drawings too. I did these drawings that are on the inside. Each song gets its own little artwork.
Yeah,
cool.
And each one, it represents each one of the pieces there.
That's
just
cool
again to kind of mix it up and have a little bit of thing. Because I'm just from our generation. This was our internet, man.
Yeah.
You know, when you got a Genesis album, you couldn't go to the Genesis website. You couldn't go to the Genesis Wikipedia.
Yeah, all you had was that album.
All you had was this, and so you had to. I mean, the cassettes you would open up and be like, "Who's playing keyboards? Who wrote it? Who's this? What are the words? Whatever." And to me, that was part of the fun experience. I know I'm being a boomer here or whatever, but yeah.
And trade magazines, you'd like buy the magazine with all the information about what's going on, you know,
right, where the tour might be happening or whatever. And then you would like share it with your friends, like, oh, I just found this magazine that had an interview with Frank Zappa. Oh my God, he's not using the Telecaster anymore. He's using the, and you'd be like, so there was a much greater ownership, I think, for the stuff that we consumed as consumers of art and music and stuff like that. And to me, I just wanted to kind of recapture that a little bit. So,
you know, I remember, I bought a subscription to Rolling Stone magazine because I wanted to know when a specific band was coming out with their next album, and there was no other way to find out.
Right.
You just
How
had
did we do it?
You had to
How
get
did
it
we
through
do
some
it? I
piece
mean-
of media, you know. So I said, okay, I'm gonna like read this for the next 2 years until I see a sign that their album came out. It never came out.
I remember in 1994 or 5, I think, going to a record store back when we had record stores at the mall. And there was a new King Crimson record. And I was like, what? I had no idea that there was, and that's pretty late, you know, 95. That's already, internet existed already, but I wasn't savvy to whatever.
A little bit.
That's how it was. You would kind of look through the bins and be like, oh, there's a new Blondie record, or there's a new, you know, David Byrne album. Oh, cool. I had no idea this was coming out. Great. I'll buy this and go home.
Or for authors that I followed, you go to the bookstore and you browse. That's how you know if they have something new out. You know, I'd always.
My first CD was a Police album.
Which one?
It was Zenyatta Mandata.
Zenyatta? I was going to say Zenyatta, yeah.
To this day, I listen to books on Audible. I've got an account. I've got hundreds of books. And there are some authors that I've got every damn book that they have written like Neil Asher's got like 18 books. And then a new one comes out and I happen to find it. And I'm like, Audible, what are you doing? Why don't you send me an email and say, Bob, look, your favorite author, he's got a new book coming out. Why don't you pre-order it? No, there's like no indication. I got to find it on my own. It's like, guys,
that would be too easy.
Take advantage. I mean, you know what I'm buying. You know what I love. Let me know when. Don't make me have to search when it's so easy. Ugh, so
which author's stuff have you read everything they've written, Bob? Is there someone that you've read everything they've written?
Yeah, like Neil Asher, mainly sci-fi. Neil Asher, his Polity Universe, Dennis. Oh crap, Steve, superpower. It's Dennis.
Yeah,
not Dennis.
Yeah, that's
not Dennis.
Dennis.
Oh, Dennis.
Not Dennis.
I think I've read everything that Carl Sagan wrote.
Okay.
Yeah, I read all of Carl Sagan's books. Stephen Jay Gould, I read all of his books.
For me, it's Vonnegut. I read every Vonnegut book.
Dennis E. Taylor is another
Have
one.
you met any of those guys?
No. Douglas Adams.
There you go.
I think I read all of Randy's books too.
He only had he had like 4 or 5, right?
Yeah.
Flim Flam.
Drew Hayes, Bob.
Drew Hayes. Yep.
Drew Hayes. It's great. Just love their shit so much.
Who would you meet if you could meet one of those guys, Bob? You got to pick one. Have dinner with.
Live or dead?
Doesn't matter.
Douglas Adams, man.
Oh, if it doesn't matter, then Carl fucking Sagan. I mean,
yeah, I would pick Sagan. Would probably be up there.
Okay.
But
Living. How about Living?
Right. Yeah, right. There you go.
Living?
Yeah. Someone whose books, every book you've read of theirs, you get to have dinner with them.
I wouldn't want to meet one of my favorite authors, Neil Asher, because I hear he's kind of a dick.
Really?
Kind of a douchebag, so I don't want to spoil that. And like, I don't want to know anything about you outside of what you write. So
I mean, that's it. You know what, Bob? The older I get, the more I think that way. Like, I don't want to know about famous people. I don't want to know.
It's a perilous line, man.
Yeah. Oh boy,
it is.
Speaking of famous people, there she is.
Olivia!
What's that?
Uncle Bob.
To get back to something you were saying there, George, though, it is so true that culture, and the way things are portrayed on TV and the movies, like people have this assumption that if you're exceptional at something, that you're talented, and that they always want to know what's your secret. What is
work my ass off.
Yeah, that's it. The secret is I work my ass off.
You must get that all the time with like, I want to have a podcast too. What should I do? I get those letters sometimes. Like,
we get lots of emails from people who are thinking of starting a podcast or
what do I do?
Or doing whatever. And the first thing I always tell them is that the 99%er is just showing up every week. It's just the time and the hours.
Yeah.
You have to decide what your goal is and if you think it's worth it to you and what your what your outcome measure is going to be in terms of deciding that it's successful enough to keep going. And you know what I mean? And then it's a lot of work. There's no shortcut. There's no shortcut in life. There really isn't. I mean, you could do things smartly or inefficiently, but that's about it. That's what it is. That's 5%. The 95% is just doing the work.
And anything that falls out of bounds of that, Steve, is like hitting the lottery.
Yeah, right.
Basically, yeah. Which then you can lose it too, just as quickly as you could sort of get some kind of grace. Every one-hit wonder, that didn't have the talent to back it up.
I got something to tell you guys. This blew my mind. Sorry, George. This guy, I don't know who it was, and he was talking about how every speech you go to, you're going to go pay someone to give this big graduation speech at a university, and he's like, "What do they tell you? What does everybody tell you at these speeches?" You know what?
Two things. What? Jack and shit. They're mind numbing. I like that's like my least favorite thing in the world is to listen to.
It's hard to do a good one.
There's nothing new to say.
Yeah.
He said, they all say follow your passion.
Yeah.
And he goes, don't follow your passion.
Yeah.
Don't follow it. It's a big mistake. He said, and he goes into it, and I listened to it, and it was interesting. His philosophy that he had was, your passion is likely dangerous for you economically.
Well, all right.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, you got to find something that you're good at and lean into that and make that a career, not something that you're passionate about. He goes, be passionate about your hobbies. You know,
Right. That's the
statistically,
weekend. Yeah.
you will not be able to monetize your passion, but you
Right.
will be able to monetize your talent or something that you have, you know, something that you can develop a good skill on. Like, you know, when I was the one thing I really gelled with was programming. I didn't have a dream to be a programmer. I had an aptitude to be a programmer, and I went with it, and it worked. It was the start of my real career in my life. But you know, I did, you know, I tried to be in a band for 20 years. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't work. Didn't work for me. You know, like, it doesn't work for most everybody. So I think that's an interesting angle. You know, like, you got to be careful about your passions because they can damage you.
Jay, what do you mean you have an aptitude for programming? How do you define that?
I define that by how quickly it took me to learn it, and you know, did I have the mental capacity to learn it and do it and function inside of it? And the answer at the time was yes.
Yeah, it's funny because I don't think I have an aptitude for programming, but it's the most rewarding thing that I've ever done at work. When I was coding in PowerShell for like 6 months, a lot, I would log on during the weekend just to program.
Mm-hmm.
Rewarding, but I was not good. I was slow. I could never make a living at it. I'd get fired because it was like, Bob, what's taking you so long, dude? And but it's so funny how it's extremely rewarding, but I'm just not good at it.
What's the best part of it? What? Because I've never done that. Like, is it having the finished thing do what you want it to do? Is it like figuring out problem solving? Like, what's the most rewarding thing?
It's the problem solving. It's figuring out how to get something done. And then, of course, you spend, like, say, maybe 20% on that. And then you spend, or at least I did, I spent 80% of my time making it look good, like making the output look beautiful that I can then send to people, email to people, or organizing the code so that it's laid out and formatted perfectly. But yeah, it's just rewarding when you see it go through and it works. It accomplishes what you needed to accomplish. And it saves you a lot of time, because I wrote a lot of administrative scripts to do stuff, connect to a bunch of computers, do this, turn this off, turn this on, report on this. And it would save me a shit ton of time. It's just so rewarding to it's like your little baby, scripts that you made, you're so proud of. But ultimately, though, it was shit, because programmers would be like, I could knock that out in an hour. What, you took you a week? What's your problem? But
so it's an interesting question, and I think there's a lot of hidden complexity there for two reasons.
The passion question, you mean?
Yeah, the passion question. Well, so I have two big thoughts about it. One is that I agree that you shouldn't boil down like what you should do as your career to one factor. Like, I don't think you should do something because that is your passion, or I don't think you should do it because it'll make the most money. I think there's a sweet spot. If you think about, what do you enjoy doing? What are you good at? And what is remunerative? What makes money? Try to find some sweet spot that is a good compromise of those three things. So you'll enjoy your work. It may not be the most thing that gets you really jazzed, but it won't be like a death march every day. And you're reasonably good at it, and it's the kind of thing that you could make money from. It's kind of like a Moneyball approach, where you're not trying to hit it out of the park with the perfect job, but it's like it's a good compromise of those main factors. But the other thing is that, especially now, I think more so with technology, you could do a lot of things. Like, your career isn't necessarily the biggest piece of your life anymore. Like, you can have a hobby, multiple hobbies, a side gig. You could do other things, and those things can make money, even though it might not be making you wealthy. Like, it's a lot easier to make money off your hobby now than it used to be.
Yeah,
sure.
Even though, so you might have a combination of, I really enjoy this and I can make a little bit of money at it, and this is okay, and I can make a reasonable money off of that. And between the two of them, I'll make a decent amount of money, and I'll be doing fun stuff most of the time.
Go ahead, George.
No, I'm saying there's a curious corollary to that too that I've talked about with young musicians and stuff about the idea of like selling out doesn't exist. Like there's no such thing as selling out because it's so impossible to make any money in this business in terms of like large amount. I mean, yeah, you can make a living, but kind of the idea of, oh, we're going to do A, B, and C, and that'll guarantee that we then get these, like that doesn't exist. It doesn't matter what you're doing, what you think the trends are, what you think would be popular. It's still a roll of the dice to be a massive, huge hit. So I tend to tell people that are working on a creative endeavor, like, make it the thing that you want it to be, because most likely it won't be successful. It won't be a massive hit, And the problem is that if you modify what your likes and what you think, what you would enjoy. So again, like this, my album, this is exactly what I want it to be. Like from soup to nuts. Like no one said, I'm not hearing a single, or the song is too short or too long, or you can't write about that, or you have to put the name of the album on the cover. Like there's no name on there. How are people going to, it's exactly what I want it to be. And whether it sells or not, like on some level to me, that's secondary, because I have this thing that is a perfect representation of what I want it to be. So when you're creating something, like make it the thing you want it to be, because most likely it won't work, but at least you'll have that thing. Because if you start modifying yourself and like, oh, I should do this, the market says I should do this, and then it doesn't sell either, then you have nothing.
Yeah,
it's a lose-lose. I had a meeting with someone about like Spotify and YouTube, and she's wonderful. She's like a promoter person. And she was telling me like for the pre-release and what you have to do to get onto these Spotify playlists and what's involved. And for like, we spoke for an hour, and she was so knowledgeable and so friendly and so good. Talk about being exhausted afterwards. The thing that never came up in that entire conversation of like, you need to do this and this and this and this to get it in front of these eyeballs, to get it this, to make sure your website is this, to make sure, like what never came up was, what is the thing? What is the music? Is it any good? Like, is it interesting? Like, is it funky? Is it fun? Do like people like that? That never came up in that entire conversation of what you need to do to make this work.
It's interesting.
Where I just wanted to like disengage and be like, I don't want to do that stuff. Like, I'm not interested in doing that. That's not like, I'm not an accountant. And that's basically just being an accountant. And I'd be an accountant if I wanted to be an accountant. But that's what you have to do nowadays.
Oh my God. I know, George, the amount of boxes you have to tick when you're just uploading a YouTube video.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Because there are companies like I literally just ended my subscription to one of the companies where they like help you, maximize your footprint on YouTube, and they and
SEO
it's like,
or whatever.
It's called TubeBuddy, the one I was using. Oh my God. It was like, there's just there's so much stuff to do. And then you're not even like 100th of the way there.
Right. And it probably won't work.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
It's astounding.
Well, it's funny because Ian and I have this conversation every week now because, we're doing TikTok videos.
Right. Which are great, by the way. Let me just, if people haven't been watching these, the short little 10-minute, 15-minute things between you and Jay are fucking amazing.
Well, those are the YouTube videos.
Oh, yeah. But those are great. But the TikToks are also just,
Thank you,
it's just great, guys. Like, keep doing it, because I think people love them. And it's something you can just send someone to it, like, boom. And it's for as great as the podcast is, as great as the archive is, to
They're
just
crunchy.
be like homeopathy, boom. What it's just raw milk, boom. It's great. It's great. So if there's any doubt whether the effort on the Wednesdays, whenever the hell you guys are doing those things, like, keep doing them, because they're awesome.
George, I got to ask
so that's
you.
Let me finish my thought though, Jay. So this ties into the conversation we're having, because that's one metric. Like,
right.
And of course, what we're doing with Skepticism has never been about making money. We're just trying to support our activity,
Yeah.
And of course, the more you bring in, the more support you get, the more you can do, and blah blah blah. But it's not like we're trying to get rich doing it, because that would be a fool's errand, right? Trying to get rich off of Skepticism or off of science communication or whatever. But we are trying to, get out there. Like, we want to be successful, whatever that means in terms of the medium. We want eyeballs on the videos.
Yeah.
And so like Ian's job is to think of,
You make the covers, right?
yeah,
That shit is more attractive than.
so that's
Jay actually does
that's
those.
Jay doing that. But
it's great.
Ian sets me, it's like, I have these, here are my like 10 suggestions, and a lot of it is based upon the like what's going to hit, or who what's going to get us connected with somebody on
Right.
TikTok, or like,
Right.
so Ian's doing his job, trying to figure out like where's the most bang for the buck, and I'm like, I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about this.
I know.
So
like you said, though, it's a balance. You have to find that point along the
Yeah.
spectrum of like, okay, where I'm still feeling satisfied, but we're all going to get eyeballs on it and make a difference on some level with some.
No, but it's
people or
good because
whatever.
it's like Ian and I talk about it. It's a negotiation. It's like
Yeah.
where's the sweet spot where we do both,
Right.
where
right.
like it's gonna serve our function, but also be content that's branded well,
Sure.
to our content.
Well, you will want to take a fork to your face if you just go and look at who's getting all the views on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy how bad the content is, and how 14 million people watched this video, and you watch 10 seconds of it, and you're like, I don't want to live anymore. It blows my mind. Like I feel like the content we're making is like chicken soup. Like it'll help.
Yeah.
There's nutrition here. There's intellectual
Right.
stuff here. There's you could use it. That's why we do everything that we do.
Let me show you some of the intellectual stuff.
God.
There you go. Look at Jay. That's
but it's so funny
Whoa.
that okay, you're making great stuff. So to do that, it's like a small price to pay.
That's just a cover.
Yeah, to get the algorithm to respond, or whatever the hell the rules are for the thing of like, oh, the type has to be this big, the percentage type to screen face.
That's fine. We'll do that shit. But the content's got to be good.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
On top of it.
People
are just doing that. People are just concerned about, what is that? The picture that gets posted. Like that's 80% of the effort is in that, right? 90%, and then it's garbage content. Or
so listen to this,
some
guys.
of them are great, but yeah.
Yesterday, I got my haircut. Yay! So
about goddamn time, you hippie.
The young woman is cutting my hair, and she said, so how's your week been? She was like very conversational. So I end up, like telling her about Nauticon. I'm like telling, I'm doing this. I'm basically doing this by myself now. It's a lot of work, and I was talking about that. So she's asking me, what's this for? Like, what is it? So then I got to go a level deeper, and she kept asking more questions. So I'm finally telling her about the podcast. And she's like, what do you guys talk about on the podcast? And I'm like, well, science news. Like, what? All right, we talk about lately we've been talking about artificial intelligence. We've been, we talk about, GMOs, like I was explaining to her what that is. And then I'm like, we also talk about science that's going on that we really like, like the Artemis program. She's like, well, what's that? And I'm like, okay, the Artemis program, like, if you heard of NASA, yeah.
What's that?
So I tell her about it, and she's fascinated by it, but did not know about it.
Yeah.
Didn't know about Artemis. And I was literally like, I am so happy. Yeah, but I don't know. She was probably 25 years old.
Right.
And I get it. But it blows my mind, though, that people are watching all of those other YouTube videos, but they're not watching the actual magical shit that's actually going on in our world. Sending people into outer space is as close to magic as humans will ever have. Mm-hmm. Right? It's just feats of engineering and intellect that pull off these unbelievably
and absolute balls. I mean,
massive balls.
But
so anyway,
there's plenty of savvy, intelligent people that might not know what Artemis is, though. I mean, I'd have to say, like, if there are plenty of people that are watching the news that are politically, connected, that are doing. And if you said, "What do you think of Artemis?" they might not know, like, "Oh, that's the moonshot." I mean, maybe
you're
like
NASA, probably right, George. But I got to admit, this is all coming from Jay's perspective. We're
pretty.
Artemis is like one of the top 50 things that you should know about right now. You know what I mean? Like, you got to know
in our world, yeah.
It is it's in our world. And so it is interesting holes that people have in their knowledge, and we have to recognize that we have holes in knowledge that other people like. You don't know who this composer is. I mean, how could you not know who this composer or whatever?
Or this pop star.
Yeah, right, exactly. But like, and like, I won't say who it was, but like somebody I know who is an intelligent, educated person, just not in the sciences, thought that a rhinoceros was a dinosaur. And because to them it was a big gray animal. So like, yeah, that's a dinosaur, right?
Gray animal.
Rhinoceros.
Yeah. A rhinoceros.
God.
That's good, Ian.
And so it's like, it took me aback. Like, how could somebody like be that ignorant of, of natural history? I'm like, yeah, but that's just completely not in their wheelhouse.
Well, did you just see the three questions?
That's not a good example. Because a rhinoceros, come on, I could see not being into the moon or art or.
It's an extreme example.
That's an extreme example, but you can go. We've seen even more extreme. Where I think if you take a step back, worse than even rhinoceros is, hey, what's the moon? I don't know what the moon is. Is it a star? Is it that level of?
Oh yeah, astronomically. Oh yeah, I talk to people all the time who have no idea what a solar system is, a galaxy is.
They just did a thing. They asked three questions, and 40% of people got this wrong. It was, how long does it take the Earth to go around the sun?
Yeah.
What's the percentage of water on Earth?
Yeah.
And I forget the third question, and it was like a similar, and like 40% of the population got those wrong. They didn't know a year is a year.
Yeah.
That's the level that's the most frustrating.
But that is indicative of a few things, and one of them is that there isn't a thinking filter. There isn't a thinking filter. A lot of these questions you could figure out I say, Ian, who's that guy that we see on TikTok where he asks people on the street really obvious questions?
You know who I'm talking about, right? The one that gives away money, and then if you don't get them all right, he takes it back.
No, it's a black. He's a black guy. I think I can't remember. I don't know where he's from. He's really really good looking, and he's really charming, and he's really friendly. And he goes up to people and he just asks them like simple questions, like what's 10 plus 20? Like really basic questions.
Oh yeah,
right. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know. I'll look it up though.
So at one point, he's trying to get people to I think if I remember correctly, basically calculate what a year is. Like, what's it, and he's like, how many months are in a year, that type of thing. And he just person after person after person doesn't even know. And I'm like, do you really not know? Or is there just not a thinking thing happening when you're walking around, because how could you get through life and not know?
There's also editing. I mean, jaywalking. Remember jaywalking from the Tonight Show? He used to have these people that just and it was person after person. I'm hoping that they're out there all day recording people, and that's 20% of them or 10%, and that's what fills up the video feed or whatever because of editing. But yeah, it's disheartening. It's funny for a second, and then it's just like.
But it's the kind of people we are, though, right? We're skeptics. We're science enthusiasts. And to us, we have things that we think this is what's important. And then you go to the next group of people and they have a whole different view. And it's fine. It's fine. It just is kind of mind blowing.
But I said, there's multiple things going on. One is just like, what things do you think are important in your life? But I also think
that's a judgment call, obviously.
Yeah, but I think there's a curiosity thing as well.
Yes.
Like even things I don't know a lot about or I'm not interested in, like it's part of the universe. It's part of the world. And like I feel like I want to know at least like what it is. I mean, I don't want this to be a complete and total mystery to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yet people
curiosity.
Just think you think it's basic. General. You just feel like, hey, I was a kid, therefore I know about outer space and dinosaurs and stuff. But I don't know. I guess it starts from that age too. There's kids out there that probably don't get into dinosaurs. You know what I mean? At some point, or
it also gets quelled at some point. The curiosity of children, I think, sometimes gets quelled a little bit because it can be so endless. Like that kind of like just I don't know why. Shut up. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. You never say that to a kid. Yeah,
it's like you can understand why that reaction happens. But just to encourage of just like, what was it? Someone was talking about. if you maybe it was Neil deGrasse Tyson about if your kid wants to go and play in a puddle, like let them, like go if they want to go jump in a puddle when it's raining, like let them, and then talk about like what's the puddle, what's the rain, what's the thing, how do your clothes dry, what happens when it's like it's an opportunity to like take play.
Yeah, you're right. Right.
And
it's hard though.
This whole science conversation.
As a parent, having children is like how much can you get beat down and continue to push forward? It's freaking hard, like it is mentally taxing. And you gotta what you just said is like something I remind myself of all the time. Like, get out of your adult mindset and think about what it's like being them. I try to put myself in their position. It's freaking hard though. It's hard.
Yeah, did you get fixed yet? Did you get neutered yet?
No, I didn't.
Do it, man.
I know after Steve's story, I am horrified. Steve had a bad experience getting.
I had
an anomaly.
It was the easiest procedure ever.
Mine was the hardest procedure ever.
Well, when you have instruments that tiny, when they're that small, it's really hard to just.
Now I have an anatomical variant that made a simple operation into a very complicated.
Yeah, forget it. I don't know, Bob.
Huge balls.
Learn from
huge balls.
Mistakes. Hey, I learned from Steve's mistakes. Conscious sedation. If you encounter a situation exactly like him, it won't matter because you'll be out. Just tell the doctor, conscious sedation. Done.
There it is.
George, imagine getting kicked in the balls over and over again for an
balls
hour.
Are there. Yeah.
And then when you're done,
I've played weddings for 25 years, Steve. I know what that's like.
But Bob, Steve, I blame Steve because he described it so well that I felt it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I learned from his experience. And Jay, do you know what you get at the end of you know what the doctor tells you at the end?
What?
He gives you a lollipop and he says, go home and jerk off a lot. I mean,
you got to clear the pipes
with the lollipop, or is that not?
Ouch!
Stick it in the.
I don't need a doctor to tell me to jerk off. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but you will do it with motivation, like you have.
Okay, there's motivation behind.
Right,
okay.
And that prescription is very clearly written. Oddly enough, they're handwriting. Jerk
because basically
off.
you can't have unprotected sex with your wife until you reach a number.
Bob, somebody said, was it a blow pop?
A blow pop. So, okay, I didn't hear this. Can you quickly just recap or recup or whatever?
Here we go.
So, yeah, I was getting the procedure done again. It's supposed to be step, really easy, no problem.
Right.
And they did
because of all the swing parties you go to, right?
Hey.
Yeah, right. They did it under local anesthesia.
Okay.
Right.
So.
That means they put an ice pack on his nuts.
And there's two, right? So they got to do two. The first one was took a little bit longer than I thought, but they got it.
Gas difference, yeah.
Then the second one, they go to the other side. All right, just got to do the other one. So that was harder than we thought, but okay. Well, here's the other one, and they're digging around, literally for an hour.
An hour.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's like
cleaning out gutters,
No, they're trying to find it. They couldn't
find
snaking
it. a drain. Kind of.
So basically, they were rooting around inside his body with a metal shank.
No, not his body, his balls.
Did they go through? I'm sorry to do this, but did they go through the scrotum, or is it okay? So all right.
Scrotum. So the thing is that the whole time, first of all, it's maybe I don't feel the skin, but the deep pain you get when you get kicked in the balls, that was the whole thing. Right.
Yeah. Oh God.
And it was constant. And so the thing is, I'm thinking, all right, and they kept saying, all right, we're almost there. Right. And I'm thinking I'm halfway done. I mean, can't bail now,
Right. Yeah.
So I was motivated to stick it out. And then after an hour, they gave up before I did. So I take that as a point of pride. I'm I should have bailed, a lot earlier. But
at some point you just raise your hand.
But when you think it's
stop,
if I just if I just bear it for just another 5-10 minutes, it'll be done, and then to be done, and then they just said, listen, we're not going to get it, so it was tomorrow. Also, I had to reschedule it under anesthesia. I had to, they said you're guarding too much. Of course I'm fucking guarding. Because it's just excluded. The worst pain I've had in my life.
My nut.
There's a camera crew in my balls. Of course I'm guarding.
Jesus
Wow.
Christ.
You involuntarily
Oh,
said it,
man.
so that was
Yeah.
part of why they couldn't get it. So
Yeah,
like,
they're blaming you. You're literally lying on a table with your legs open, and they're blaming
Why can't you relax? Why can't you relax?
Yeah, relax.
Unclench. What's the matter with you? Jeez.
So
Bottom line, Jay, easy fix.
The
Easy
second time was
Bottom
10,
line.
9, 8, 7, and you're done. And you wake up and it was over.
Okay.
And I
good.
should have just done that the first time for the whole
Yeah.
thing.
Wow.
Jay, it was such a nothing operation, man.
Just trust me when I tell you, George, that when Steve told me about this, it was worse
Yeah.
than what he said.
I
There were
yeah,
more
I know.
details.
I
There
went
was
into
more.
more detail. It was bad. It was bad.
Hey,
I'm sure.
absolutely.
Well,
He freaked me out, and that's why I followed his advice and got conscious sedation. Easy,
think
man.
of the evolutionary processes that had to sort of engender themselves into our physiology
Yeah.
to just be able to hear about a strike to the nuts and it hurts.
yeah.
Like that's how
Yeah.
think of like what's involved for that to evolve. That's astonishing.
It's all, and
right?
it really it doesn't boil down to because it's going to hurt. It boils down to because you won't reproduce.
Yes.
Does
but
this
it's
happen
like-
to any of you guys?
But
Do you guys get the deep tingles? Like, so whenever I see or hear about somebody like scraping their knee or something,
oh yeah, yeah.
Bingo.
you get this sort of deep, uncomfortable like reaction, like a physical reaction.
I get that at heights when I'm very
Yeah.
up high somewhere and like looking, like remember at the Hilton in Dragon Con, you go up to the top
Oh,
of that
yeah,
thing
forget it.
and you look down.
I
and you get
can't
that-
look.
And what I think it is I think it's your body's just going like, okay,
Danger.
this is important.
Oh, yeah, it's an
Danger.
autonomic reaction.
I'm
No
gonna
question.
bring the balls in. Here we go.
But this is
Pay
purely
attention.
mental, George.
Yeah.
This is purely mental. Just
Yeah.
I fell and scraped. Like,
Right.
if it's usually
Yeah, sure.
if it's empathic enough, like if I could imagine.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
Steve, you
Yeah,
nailed it.
So
I've experienced that for most of my life,
Yeah.
and it's one of those things. And there's a few of them. There's one of those things that I experienced. I never talked about to anybody, but you just nailed it. I watch a video and I see a guy on a skateboard doing a trick, and he falls, and his leg
Yes.
goes in the wrong direction.
oh,
You feel that
worst.
Feel it.
I can't watch those.
You
Yeah.
feel something inside, and a deep tingle is a great way to
So-
describe it.
I
A deep, unpleasant tingle.
You
Yeah.
guys remember when I hurt my right hand? Remember when
Yeah.
I dislocated all the fingers on my right hand? No, I wish, George. No, I fell off of a bike that was going slower than
Carpool
walking
tumble.
speed. That's another story. So anyway, since then I have had permanent danger PTSD.
Yeah.
So as I'm scrolling through TikTok looking for videos with Ian, you see something happen, and it affects me like an order of magnitude worse now than it ever did post accident.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's really weird. Like there was a permanent impression put on my psyche about accidents and damage. Like
That's PTSD, Jay.
yeah, so it's permanent. Nothing. It hasn't waned at all. It is it's right where it was.
Okay.
But I don't,
Along these lines, Dr. Steve, why is it that you have to pee the most right when you get to the bathroom?
Yeah.
Like if so you're like in the car and you got 20 minutes to go or whatever, and you're like, and it's literally in the last 18 seconds of going up the staircase to the bathroom that it becomes unbearable.
Yeah.
Because the pee
What's going on there?
You can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Is that what it is? The pee is just
so imminent.
Yeah, it's
Chemical reaction or something.
it's because your
What's going
brain
on?
is connected to your autonomic system.
right.
Yeah, it's like how do you it's like you can get a hard on watching a video. It's the same thing. You're just looking at a picture and you're having a physiological reaction.
so
But
if
if
is
you're
a different-
holding it in, like it, I mean, the amount of urine hasn't,
Yeah,
significantly
but whatever is
increased in
holding back that
time.
urine gives away. You know what I mean? Like
So
that
it's like-
tone is just like, all right, we're gonna pee now. We could relax, and then you're like, I know I really got to freaking pee.
Oh,
Remember, we
wow.
evolved without clothes, right? So it hasn't been enough time of wearing clothes for us to evolutionarily adapt to like, give me time to take my pants down. It's just that when you know
It's
you're in a
amazing though,
situation,
isn't it? Though it's like
Well,
just the last
probably-
7 seconds of like, God.
it probably just
Turtle,
speculating now, just speculating. But
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you think about in the wild,
Right.
right? You have to be able to hold it when you need to hold it. But when you know consciously, I now have an opportunity to to release myself, you got to go right away, right? It's probably advantageous to like immediately be able to go.
Right.
So you don't want to have to like spend time unwinding the holding, it just instantly lets go. So we have that same mental, we have that physiological and autonomic reaction of I'm in the bathroom now, so everything lets go, and you're like, oh, I really got to go.
So your brain knows it's time to go, even though you're not quite ready.
But
it
George,
starts to happen.
The extreme example of that is when you're laying in bed and you feel, I think I got to pee. And then you get up, you stand up, and then you're like, oh, I really got to pee now. Because when you're laying down, your body's like, all right, he's not going to pee. That's a very rare. But when you stand up, your body's like, oh, you're going to pee now because you're standing up. So it goes.
That happens to me too, Bob.
Right? That's like
there are additional phenomena when you're sleeping. You make less pee, and you don't get as much of the sensation to pee because you have to go all night without peeing. Obviously, when you get older, that becomes more difficult. But if
you walk into the bathroom backwards,
so that that way, otherwise we'd be waking up all night to pee.
Sometimes you got to go, right? And and you got to go. It's significant. It's not that final stage, but you got to go, and then you get distracted. It's a phone call or someone comes in or like the thing. And like that has happened sometimes. And you'll be 20 minutes later, you'll be like, oh, right. I have to pee. I totally forgot. Like
your body prioritizes.
It's amazing how
it's not all physics, George. It's not all just how much pee is physically in your bladder. It's your body reaction to all that. It's all the autonomic stuff that's like controlling your sphincters and how much is your bladder trying to squeeze or is it relaxing, etc. Yeah. Do you guys frequently dream that you have to pee in your dream?
Oh yeah, I've peed in my dreams my entire life.
I hate those dreams. There's always it's always a bad situation, right?
Yes.
Well, for me,
because you can't actually relieve yourself.
Yeah.
Right. No matter what you do, you can't relieve the actual physical sensation of needing to pee. So it never works. And your dream pee never works.
Uh-oh, Bob's up to something.
Bob has a dream pee journal. He's going to pull out.
My battery's low. I got to plug in.
Oh, never mind. Not as exciting.
So, I got to leave in a couple of minutes because I have people coming.
Yeah, me too.
Steve, you're coming over tonight, right?
Yeah, we're coming over. Want to do a couple quick questions?
Yes, and let me put up the digital album again if people haven't gotten it.
Thank you so much. Don't forget also, if you like physical CDs, you can go to no, that's the wrong one.
That's the wrong one. It's backwards.
That's the right one. There we go.
No, that's the physical CD. This is the physical CD QR code.
Thank you. There it is.
Yeah, so Bandcamp has the physical CD, and then if you go to hearnow.com, that connects to every digital version, which is like Spotify and Deezer, whatever the hell Deezer is. And iTunes and Amazon Music and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, before we forget,
YouTube and listen,
guys. May 20th, a week from tomorrow.
From tomorrow, 6 hours,
11 a.m. is the patron 1 hour private live stream. 12 p.m. is the public. It'll go from 12 to 5. Thank you. And we wrote everything. We know exactly what we're doing. We have a lot of really crazy and fun stuff.
I wouldn't go that far.
Follows the schedule exactly by the minute. At 5:59, we will be
vague idea of what we're doing now.
Is it the first hour? Is that when we're naked, or is that like?
The patron hour is no clothes.
All right,
that's the strip thing.
For the patron hour, we're going to be dream peeing the whole time.
Visto tutti, good line, sir.
Dream.
Nicely done. You said you can tell my picture's mirrored because my hair's part of the other.
Part on the other side.
You see, because
nice.
Bada boom.
I know you love those jokes, George. So May 20th will be fun. Somebody asked me earlier in the stream about Ted Lasso. I am watching it. I actually really, really like it. It's a very intelligently well-written show. Yeah. I know it's popular, and I almost feel guilty liking popular shows, but for some reason,
don't fall for that.
But it's really good. It is a really good show. And it's not just like it's a good feel-good show, but which it is. Some of the episodes are like so smartly written. Like they really,
there's real stuff in there.
But I heard this last season, the end of this season is like falling apart horribly. I see that a lot.
How dare you?
I haven't watched it. I don't know. I just read that this latest season is like taking a deep dive. Like, oh boy.
Guys, are any of you watching the TV show The Diplomat?
Yes.
Excellent TV show.
So the whole first season, very good.
I just
finished the goddamn lake scene. Oh, it pissed me off.
We'll have to talk
lake
about
scene-
that, George. I want to talk to you about that.
God, upset me. But everything else I liked very much.
The acting is
Question.
fantastic. Yes, go ahead.
Question
Yeah.
for George: what's the one genre of music you really don't like at all, other than lake music?
There isn't one. You know, it's so funny. I do get asked that sometimes. There are good versions of every genre. Some genres might only have like one or two examples, but you know, there's country music which is amazing and beautiful and moving. There's hip hop stuff that I just adore. There's heavy metal. There's thrash metal that, you know, again, a lot of it is not quite my bag, but there's some of it that I really connect with. So I think the sheer fact that a genre exists usually validates itself, because that means that someone has put enough effort, or there's been enough collective attempts to make that worthwhile. So the percentages are very different in genres. Like, you know, the percentage of what I appreciate, you know, in prog versus, you know, clowncore, you know, are very different. But I can always find something interesting. And if you're a parent and you can't stand your kids' music, like ask them to explain why some of their music is good, and then ask them to play some music in that genre that they don't like, and it'll sometimes illuminate very clearly to you. Someone wrote me that and said, my son listens to blah, I can't connect with it, I don't know what to do, what do I do? I said, okay, ask him to play stuff that he loves, and then ask him to play stuff that he doesn't like in that same genre, and have him describe the difference, and then that'll make you connect with it. So like, you can always find something to connect with.
It's a cool idea.
Pretty much every single genre. That's it.
What about madrigals? You like madrigals? You're good.
Again, it's like there's a 3-song syndrome, right? That I called it 3-song syndrome. You go to a music festival, like something at Music Fest that we have here in Bethlehem, and there's 800 different acts, every style. And it's like you go and you see this band, and a madrigal band starts, and you're like, God, this is awesome, man. They got this tight, close harmonies, and it's kind of happening. There's no instruments. This is really cool. And then the second song comes on, and you're like, well, this is interesting. And the third song happens, and it's kind of like the first 2 songs. And you're like, yeah, what's over there?
Yeah, right. What's
like,
done? You're done.
It's almost every genre almost sort of has that thing of like 3 metal tunes in a row, 3 hip hop songs. You know, there is that 3 song. There are some people that can get outside of that, artists in particular can get outside. But again, I'll love a good madrigal thing. I mean, like, the whole Renaissance music is just astoundingly cool. You think that like everything is you know, that music was invented in the 50s and 60s and 70s here. It's like, oh, there's rock and roll stuff, there's jazz, there's crazy polyrhythms. All this stuff is in Renaissance music. It's amazing, and especially like in madrigals and things like that. So yeah. Absolutely. Are you a madrigal group? Was that part of the operation? Was that to get your voice higher to be able to sing the tenor parts and the
No, my voice actually got lower. Yeah.
How do you assess the new foray of SGU into TikTok space? We were just talking about this, actually. Is it the response that you hoped for?
So Ian and I had this discussion. So where's the threshold for becoming a TikTok sensation? And where's the threshold for becoming a TikTok phenomenon? And which one is higher? Right? Would you say you hit sensation first and then phenomenon, or phenomenon first and then sensation?
Phenomenon first, I'd say.
No, I would say phenomenon second, because that means you're like having a broader impact on the culture.
Yeah, to sensationalize something is to pump value into something that might necessarily deserve it, right? When you're being sensational about something. Yeah. Sensationalizing.
But if you are a sensation, that's interesting. Reasonably.
Right. But I would say, versus a phenomenon is like, oh, this is part of something larger.
Culture. Yeah.
So this is what's happening with TikTok. We had one video that's over 300,000, hits, right?
Which one?
It's the one where discussing
Lake Lemoyne,
the Tourette syndrome.
Oh, Tourette's guy, yeah.
And the reason why it's so high is because it's responding to a very popular podcaster. So that was Ian's genius.
Okay.
So then I have a lot that are like the 20,000 range, and then the ones that get no play are like at 5,000. It's like 5,000 like the floor. That's the SGU listeners who are going to watch everything we do, right? We always get like 4,000 or 5,000.
Then suckers.
A lot of them break through to like that 20 range. There's like scattering of other ones, and then there's a few that are higher. So I don't know. we're just keep plugging away, and we have over 15,000 people subscribed, so that's something.
That's great.
Following.
That's
but
great.
It keeps going up. Number goes up.
Yeah, we're trying
For
to drive
science content. I mean, remember
people
what you're
to
doing.
listen to the show. So there's that metric as well. But that's too soon to tell if that's happening. So I don't know. We're going to keep doing it. But just more work.
Do.
Yeah,
please do.
And if anybody sees anything interesting on TikTok or any of the other platforms, send it, and we'll scrape it. Sometimes we take it from YouTube and just respond.
So
to
here
it
are the
TikTok.
criteria. If you want to not send us a bunch of stuff, we're just going to reject. So there's got to be something I can talk about, right? That's like the thing. It's got to be something. There's got to be some hook to some kind of skeptical meat in there somewhere. It's not just, oh, look, this is really stupid, because that's endless on TikTok. Yeah. What am I going to say? Yeah, this is really stupid. I need something to talk about. That's just that's the big thing. And it doesn't have to be to say that they're wrong. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, this is real. This thing is cool. Let me tell you a little bit more about it.
You can make a subset of TikTok videos, Steve, where all you say is, "This is really stupid," and then that's it.
I gotta go, guys.
All right.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
I guess I got to ditch too.
Are we all going?
Yeah. Jays.
If you don't like TikTok, you can watch it on the other Shorts platforms too, even though they're stealing your information as well.
Yeah.
But they're going.
Thanks,
they're on YouTube Shorts.
Good to see you, George.
Thank you, boys. Good to see you.
Yeah. So George, we'll see you next Saturday for 6 hours.
Early.
11 a.m. Eastern.
No pants.
What time is it? Unless you're in the North Pole.
Come early. We'll have breakfast before we start.
We'll have breakfast, and it'll be fun.
Yeah. I'll be as soon as I can. We'll do.
Down before the storm.
Bye, everybody. Have
All right, bye,
weekend.
everyone. Thanks, George. Thanks,
so
Ian.
long.
See ya.
Have fun. Skeptic's Guide to the Universe is produced by SGU Productions, dedicated to promoting science and critical thinking. For more information, visit us at theskepticsguide.org. Send your questions to info@theskepticsguide.org. And if you would like to support the show and all the work that we do, go to patreon.com/skepticsguide and consider becoming a patron and becoming part of the SGU community. Our listeners and supporters are what make SGU possible.
Oh, there he is.
I remember the secret show.
Stream takeover. And look, there's a physical CD QR code here. There's the digital one up there. There's the actual album cover. I am sad that you didn't want to use the album design that we came up with, which was this.
What was that?
Here you go. If you can see it.
Oh, I love
it.
Okay.
That'll
be for the live album.
Mm-hmm. If you notice the hands in the top left one, it's reversed, and it's like that's what AI does for you.
Is that AI?
That was I put in George Robb as a dancer, and it
really?
does kind of
show that again.
Somewhat of an aesthetic. Sort of an aesthetic of.
I mean, I would love to be that fit. My goodness. Yeah.
It's a little, it's Gene Kelly, or it's like Fred Astaire in there somewhere doing something.
Gene's the man.
Yeah.
Gene, it's funny. You have Fred Astaire and you have Gene Kelly. Fred Astaire was great, obviously.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But Gene Kelly, Fred Astaire was a dancer, like a gentleman dancer. Gene Kelly was like a dude that could just dance.
Yeah.
I don't know how familiar you are with Gene Kelly movies.
Mm-hmm.
I Singing in the Rain.
Sure.
One of my top 5 films. I just adore. It's so freaking good. American in Paris. Apart from the thing that he's, I think, 43, and the woman in the film is 18 or 19, which is
like all of them.
Like all of them, but that one is particularly egregious. Like that's one of the worst ones. Xanadu is a terrible film, but he's great in it because he's him, and it's And I can't trash Xanadu because Maynard loves Xanadu. Marty just said Xanadu.
Yeah.
But Gene was an actor. Fred was a dancer. I think Gene was a better actor than Fred was. And there's something about the just the like the naturalness to Gene's dancing that I was just
Mhm.
I freaking loved.
Yeah.
Loved. So, what are you working on? What's going on in the studio for you outside of the SGU nonsense?
We just a lot of just random stuff in the studio. It's all good. It's just working.
All right.
Got some comedy stuff actually, which is fun to do, like
Oh, that's cool.
books on tape and all that kind of stuff, so to speak. And other albums, but comedy albums, which seem to be kind of coming back in a weird way.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Yeah, no, but it's good.
Cool. I'll have to
Booking.
get one. I'm curious to get your take on this, just from a.
Oh yeah, I want
I mean,
to.
I think you'll dig it, but from a production standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
Slough as the engineer and some of the stuff that we came up with, that we came up with, is just production wise. There's some really, really cool stuff that's
Cool.
happening in here.
Yeah, I'd like to hear it. It'd be awesome.
I think you dig it. I think you dig it. And I got to say, I should have said this during the show. There's a puzzle.
Ooh.
There's a puzzle to the whole album.
Secret puzzle.
There's a secret puzzle
that will be revealed on either the 20th or Nauticon or never.
I don't know. Or maybe I'm waiting for someone to figure it out. But there's a distinct thing that's in the album, and it's like, that's all I'm going to say. Because someone said, "Oh, how did you pick the order of the songs?" And I was like, "Yeah, how did I pick?"
Is there some backward masking and Satan worship in there?
There's no backward masking.
Too bad.
No, it's all out in the obvious.
All right, fine.
Yeah. John asks how sales are going. Sales are good. Sales are the goal of an independent release like this is just to make your money back.
Mm-hmm.
So we did that. So it's like the production, the printing, the studio time, the musicians' time, the release concert. Like I think we just broke even. So that to me is a win, because it's like you're not owing too much.
Sure.
So
about 50 people scanned on the QR code, so hopefully they're purchasing or listening.
Fantastic.
That's great.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Thanks for posting.
Oh, yeah,
that's really cool. How did you swing that? Did you just, is that an automated?
Yeah, there's a feature in this setup that there's they do a QR code and then it tells you when somebody scans it, which is pretty cool. But yeah, we will post links for the audio, listen to the album after the stream. Yeah. Very good.
Bill asks, do we need the physical release for the puzzle? No, you do not need the physical release for the puzzle. You do not. All you have to do is listen to it.
It says Ovaltine. Somewhere.
I don't think anyone will get it. Because it's the whole Wizard of Oz, Dark Side of the Moon thing.
Mm-hmm.
So like everybody knows that, right? Like there's this idea that if you line up Dark Side of the Moon with the Wizard of Oz, blah 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 blah, all this stuff, and it's a coincidence.
Yeah.
And there's a sort of that are like that. I thought, wouldn't it be cool to do something like that, but do it on purpose?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that. It doesn't sync up with some movie or something like that. But just this idea of like, if you were to dive into it and really start pulling it apart, like you could think, oh, that could be a coincidence. There's no way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, did he actually? And I want to say, yeah, I did actually think of that.
There you
That's
go.
the thing. So.
He did say dive, so it could be about a pool. Look into that. Or other things, or the Olympics. I don't know.
There's an anomalous thing to the track listing.
Mm-hmm.
There's something about the track listing that starts and then doesn't continue, and that's where if you're curious, that's all I can say. You should sort of hunt in there, and yeah. Anyway,
cool.
It's fun. Is it possible to publish? Yeah. Oh yeah. Vinyl you can do, Marty. Yeah. It's just costs money.
People still cut it.
If I was gonna, vinyl is actually, vinyl's. If you have an audience, I have a buddy that just did a vinyl release, and he literally can sell them to people that solely buy vinyl. They just buy vinyl. Yeah. They don't even care what it is. They buy vinyl. So that's kind of cool. The problem is it's crazy expensive. So, like to get 100 printed, let's say 100 albums printed, like. I would have to sell every single one of them at whatever it is, like $35 to just get even. So it's hard. It's hard. It's hard to do. I so want this, especially. I want a double gatefold vinyl of this, because how cool would that be? But to spend $6 grand just to feed my ego.
Yeah, one.
It's like just to have like 100 of them made or whatever. So, but yeah, you can do it. You can do it. Wax cylinder, yeah. Cassettes are like there's people are releasing cassettes now, which is interesting.
8 tracks.
Like
come back.
yeah. I haven't seen an 8 tracks, but cassettes for. I know St. Vincent, her last album was available on cassette.
Oh, that's cool.
It's crazy. Yeah. Vinyl podcasts.
That's a funny
That's what we
idea.
should do, yeah. There is a
Wouldn't
company
be
in
very
New York
long.
that does a really cool thing. It's a bespoke vinyl. So you go up and you go in the studio and you record live, and they cut the disc live.
That's the classic way.
And then you sell that disc to like a fan. So you say, okay, I'm going to record a special song. What do you want? And they go, okay, please play, whatever, The Assumption. And so you start the song, go, this is a song for Fred, and you play The Assumption, and then that gets sent, and it's like whatever, $40 or $50. It's this incredibly special, one of a kind, one release thing, and they've been doing it since COVID, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Just I think they can do like 2 at a time or something, but that's it.
Yeah, that's a classic. You should just do one mic in the room. That's also a classic recording thing.
Oh yeah, the old
144.
Yeah, blue. What do you call it? Not blue jeans, bluegrass style. One mic.
You just step up.
Soloist steps forward and steps back. We played a gig. The Philly Funk Band played a gig with a bluegrass band. I think I talked about this before. That did 80s covers.
Oh, that's awesome.
As bluegrass.
So cool.
They were so good.
Yeah.
They were so good. Just in the style. So you knew every song, but it was in the total style of bluegrass.
Yeah.
And oh my God, it was so much fun. So much fun. All right.
Bluegrass
I have to
great.
go as well.
Yep. Bye, everybody. Thanks for being
Thanks
here.
for the secret show. Thanks, Ian.
Yeah, absolutely.
And keep on those guys with the TikToks.
Oh yeah,
I know,
of course.
I know you have to cattle prod Steve sometimes.
Yeah, it's fine.
But, especially in the one good ball he has left. But
it's the only place he has feeling.
The only place he has feeling is in the sack. But it's so good. It's so good. And yeah, so thanks everybody for watching.
All right, we'll see you on the 20th, everybody. Yep. And actually, stay tuned for a super not secret, sort of secret TikTok stream next Wednesday. We're going to go live on TikTok, partially because we have to do it so that we can go live on May 20th. So cool. Check out TikTok. It'll probably be mid-afternoon Eastern time. And then there you go. And make sure to sign up for Nauticon and get your rooms and all that stuff. And also, the rooms are available at the discounted price for the 175 for Thursday. You just have to call the hotel. It's a little bit of a headache, but if you call the hotel and talk to the booking, they will do it. So thank you very much.
Use code Steve's Balls. And you'll get,
well, you can try. I don't know if it'll work, but you can try. All right. Bye.
Bye.